EZ's John Hendricks, where we tackle hard conversations around the complex causes of homelessness and discuss how we as a community can collaborate to address them.
And joining me today from the Warming Center, we have the program director, Ray Young.
Good morning. Yeah. Good afternoon, I guess it is, yes.
And the resource manager, Sean Patrick O'Neill.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Now that things have kind of settled down and we know that the Warming Center is going to be here to stay, let's talk about what's next. And I guess that has to be is how we continue to work with people and how we continue to make it not just a warming place, but a welcoming place.
Oh, yes. So as far as the Warming Center, we have a lot of ideas and things we're trying to work on every day with folks that come into the shelter, needing help, needing a safe place to stay is our number one priority. We like to offer two doors. One is our entrance door and one's our exit door.
Yeah, and the entrance door, for me, that's so important that when people get there, they realize they're not just getting to bed to get out of the cold. You know, we're there to give them dignity, to give them safety, to build their trust, to really want to help them. And by getting them in the door and building that relationship with the guests and building that trust makes it a lot easier when Sean and our resource navigator, Britta, work with them. You know, they've had that trust built up, so they're going to be more apt to be open and kind of allow us to get them the help that they need. We want everybody there to be treated with dignity.
Well, and you say dignity, and I want to define that a little bit here. When you're living out on the street, you don't have a bathroom facility, you can't take a shower, your clothes, you can't wash them.
No.
I mean, you're a filthy mess when you arrive there. So the first thing you do is give them a little dignity.
Absolutely.
Get a shower, wash your clothes.
Yeah,
use the facilities.
Gives them a chance to feel like everybody else, you know, should clean and well kept and just, you know, getting treated with the same respect that everybody else does.
So once we get that handled, what's the next part of it?
Well, you know, we move on to that next step, which is walking the road between those two doors. So that can look very different for each person that comes into our shelter. Each guest has their own unique roadmap to get where they want to go, to get what they need. Some of those things involve anything from just getting a basic ID, a birth certificate, so they can start applying for work and housing and things like that. Sometimes people have a little bit more together, and we're able to get those folks further along quicker. Things like housing assistance programs, maybe they don't even need housing assistance. They have a job lined up. We try to make sure that they get to the right housing for them. Mm-hmm. We make sure that they don't go down the wrong path as best we can. And then when they are ready to exit, it's a path forward, not a goodbye.
Mm-hmm. And before we get to the exit door here, I want to talk a bit about just their general state of mind. You guys are there when they come in. You're there when you work with them. There are people out there that would just as soon see these people dead. They despise them.
Unfortunately,
They're homeless. They live in filth. And they just don't think they have a right to live.
Good riddance, right?
Yeah. How in the world do you live with people looking at you that way?
I don't know how you would. That would be so tough. And I think that's our biggest goal when they get there is to show them we're not other people that are doing that to them. We view them as human beings that deserve the same care as anybody else. And so really setting that tone with them that they know they're welcome there when they get there.
I would imagine that... you know, when people first come in, there's a little bit of time to build the trust with you guys.
It doesn't happen right off the bat. Ray does a great job. He's one of the first faces folks see whenever they're entering into the shelter every night. One of the things that we try to instill is community. We try to make sure folks know that they're safe, and that's the first step in building that trust up. And then, you know, we share a little bit of ourselves with them so that they know that we're not just expecting this to be a one-way street. This is a two-way street. We want to walk beside them as best we can to help them lift themselves up. That front door, it represents more than just dignity, safety, and support. We like to think it says that you matter and we're here to help.
Well, when you get that far down the economic ladder, when you get that far down that you don't have a dime to your name, you don't have a place to live, you don't have clothes, you don't have food, you don't have any of that stuff. How in the world can you climb out of that kind of a mess?
Well, it starts with that front door.
Yep.
Ray, why don't you kind of talk, we have a lot of different things that we do. And the first thing that when folks get through that door is, they are offered a bed, a locker to put their things and food. And Ray, I'll let you kind of talk a little bit more about some of that stuff.
Yeah, kind of talking about that too, coming in and getting a bed and getting a locker. I mean, they have a place to put their stuff, the stuff that they've had to leave, in the grass at a park or different places because they don't have anywhere else to put it. It gives them some ownership of that stuff and they feel that security. And just going in and knowing, hey, I'm going to get a bed and a locker. And wow, now there's, community members here serving us food. They get to eat and they know they're going to get a good night's sleep. That really puts them at a level of ease from what I've seen that they're so much easier to deal with. And I've met some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life at that shelter, and they were guests.
They just simply had something went wrong somewhere.
This can happen to all of us. I think a lot more people have been closer to that than they even want to realize.
So now we're in, and now we're working. What does it take to get to that exit door?
So, like I was mentioning earlier, there could be any different path for any different person. We create that roadmap with folks within those first 7 stays that they come in because we know it's going to take them a little bit of time before they can trust us to open up to us. So we start very early, but then we every 7 days after that, we keep at it. And we keep opening up that trust with them so that they know that we're going to walk beside them if it's to help them with a voucher to get a bus pass, if it's a voucher to help them get their ID, if it's bringing in services to directly connect them to medical appointments. Maybe, even just 2 weeks ago, we had a doctor in from Greater Valley Health Center that came in and saw 8 patients, or 8 of our guests that became patients. They don't trust going into a clinic. They miss their appointments because they can't remember them. But we bring these things to them so that if they do struggle with that they have the opportunity to still get that resource. And then when we are able to do that, we can really start piecing everything together for them. We take it one step at a time, but we use a multi-pronged approach. We need housing, we need income, we need health care. Well, we work on all 3 of those things at the same time, but we focus on one thing at a time when we are. And that way it's not as overwhelming as that mountain can seem whenever they're first starting to climb it.
So now we're walking the road between those 2 doors. We were in, we got to stay in, and we've got to find a way to get out and get our life back together again. And we'll talk with Sean and Ray about that after this.
Hello, this is Troy Hamlin with Wild West Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. My family and I have been in this business in the Flathead Valley for nearly 40 years. We do plumbing, heating, air conditioning, boilers, and even full system replacements. We have some of the best factory-trained technicians ready to serve you. So if you're in a bind or just need some regular service, remember to call our team at 752-1244 or check out our website at wildwestplumbing.com. Wild West Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling for all your service needs.
And now, back to Warming Center Wednesdays with the Flathead Warming Center and KGEZ's John Hendricks.
From the Warming Center, we have the Program Director, Ray Young, and Resource Manager, Sean Patrick O'Neill. All right, guys, we're between those 2 doors right now. We're working to find our way toward the exit. Tell me how you develop this roadmap individually. How does this work?
We have myself as the resource manager and our resource navigator, Britta. We work with folks by having them sign up. Each day they have the opportunity to meet with one of us to work on their plan, whether they've developed it or not. And, it starts very simply. We just want to know what they need right now. And then once they can trust us to help them with what they need, and we've been able to do that, we start working on what they want, where they want to go, what they want to achieve. Maybe it's a big picture, maybe it's just a small picture, but we keep it simple, and we try to make sure that we give them a path to get to there by writing out the plan. And if we have to refine it, we work on that weekly. And, if some folks need a little bit more, we try to bring in case management providers into some of these meetings so that we can bolster those those supports in place. And then if we can't do that, we also try to bring those supports directly to them. And that might mean like, hey, Voc Rehab will be here on Thursday. Why don't you let me set up an appointment directly with that person when they come in for you? And, this is someone who has been turned away countless times from service providers because it wasn't what they did, or they don't have this. And so to be able to trust us to do that, that's the biggest step they can take in that roadmap. And then once they take that, we can really hit the ground running. And we start doing that by making sure we address those challenges head on.
Yeah.
What happens, Ray, when somebody starts missing? Like, for example, you guys got room for 50 people every night. What if somebody doesn't make it in one night?
For their roadmap?
Yeah, or they just don't get in for whatever reason.
We have definitely had to turn a lot of people away. Once we fill up, we have our capacity. A lot of times, we have a consecutive nights list where the person that's been there the most consecutive nights, if when they line up at night, we have more than the 50, that person has to take a night out and then they can start over that. We never really have to do that, though. The guests take such good care of each other that, especially when you get a female or an elderly person in, and we're full, several guests will be like, they can have my bed tonight. But
that does not affect the roadmap.
No, because they schedule it usually a week in advance, but they can sign up, every day for it. You're required to do a roadmap every 7 days that you stay there, so if someone's gone over that 7 days, we kind of give them a chance to, hey, let's get signed up and you have to show up at this one. And if not, they're not allowed back until they do participate in that roadmap.
Well, so when does the road mapping happen? At night when they come in, or during the day?
So we actually have multiple times that folks can meet in the morning and in the evening. That's the beauty of it. If folks are ready to hit the ground running, first thing they wake up, they can meet with me. In the evening, we bring in our resource navigator, and so she would work with them from 5 to 8:30 and make sure that folks, some of the folks, if they have jobs or things like that, we try to make sure that we accommodate their schedule. Bring them in early, let them come in a little bit later. But yeah, we offer as many time slots as possible, and usually they're pretty full. We have a lot of folks that once they get started on that roadmap process, they want to keep on it. So we're about to close in 22 nights. The cool thing about this is we're going to keep our roadmaps available for our guests that stayed throughout the summer. We're going to be open Mondays and Thursdays for day services such as showers, laundry, bathroom, meal, but also these roadmaps, and bringing in those services so folks can continue. Just because our shelter season ends, we don't want people to miss out on that trajectory that they're on right now. And we've seen over 20 folks get housed this season. And in our last 100 nights, with 22 nights left, we've already met our goal of getting 10 folks housed or into treatment.
Yeah, and we have actually, I think, a handful more that are really close to getting housing we could have helped out by the end of the season. So I would really like to give credit to Sean and Britta. They do a fabulous job in there working with our guests.
Where do they go? I mean, did you say they get them a place to live?
Some of them are skilled nursing facilities. Some of them are group homes, treatment facilities for folks that are struggling with substance use disorders. And then a lot of our folks are, hardworking, contributing citizens of this community that just don't have a place they can afford. And we find that affordable place. We try to make sure that they have a good reference if they've been good guests, and we advocate for them. And they end up finding, on their own, more often than not, with a little bit of help and guidance, they find the place that they need.
And that's one thing I want to focus on, too, is everybody feels like, we're just handing people, getting them into housing, this and that. It's the guests that put in probably 95% or more of the work to do it. So they're not lazy. They're wanting to improve their lives, and we're just kind of that ladder that's helping them.
We tee it up for them to knock it out of the park.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, congratulations on getting some folks back into the mainstream again. It's a rough road once you drop down that far. I wish we could do something about avoiding homelessness. Maybe we could stop it before it happens, but until we find a way to do that, we need a way out.
Yep, and we're going to be here for that.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's cheaper to prevent it. It's a much harder climb out of it than it is whenever you aren't in it.
Well, from the Warming Center, we have Ray Young, the program director, and Sean Patrick O'Neill, the resource manager. Gentlemen, thank you so much for all you're doing.
Hey,
Thank you, John.
Thank you for joining us for another Warming Center Wednesday. Did you miss it, or would you like to share it with friends? Find today's and past shows via flatheadwarmingcenter.org. It's Warming Center Wednesdays on KGEZ 96.5 FM and 600 AM.
Welcome to AT&T. How can I help?
Hey, I thought I could trust my twins with my phone, but they outnumber me, man.
Whoa, that's a lot of glitter paint. Let's trade
Lives?
At AT&T,